All right, so today we're going to talk about factoring. So what factoring is we are trying to take our polynomials that look like this, that we get after we use the box and multiply, and turn it back into the thing in the parentheses, okay? So instead of doing the box, we have to do like the opposite of the box. So what we're going to end up doing is called slide and divide. So we know we're starting out with something that looks like this, which we would say, okay, whatever your number with x squared, that's A. Whatever is the number with just x is B. Whatever is the number, plain number at the end is C. So when it says, what are the solutions or factor? Okay, that means that's what we're about to do right now. So step one, set equation equal to 0. Ours is not equal 0, so all you do is put equal 0. Great, not difficult. Step 2, slide the A value, that means the number in the front. We're going to slide it and we're going to multiply it with C, which is the number at the end. So what does that look like? Here we go. So our A number in our example is a 3. So we're going to take that 3, we're going to multiply it with the number at the end, which is C. So we're doing times 3. So we're doing 3 times negative 10. We would type that in Desmos if we were not sure. But I know that 3 times negative 10 is negative 30. Okay. So all the other things, now the 3 is over here. So this is just x squared. In the middle is just plus x. That stayed the same. Nothing about that changed. Equals 0. Okay. This drops down. All right. So now we have this. Great. Next step, it says draw an x. And we're talking about a big-ish x. Like this big, because we got to put some numbers in it. Okay. So draw an x, step 3. Check. In the top of the x, we're going to put our C number now. So that means this last number, we're going to put C in the top, which is negative 30. And in the bottom, we're putting B of x, which is B from up here. That's the number in the middle. So we're putting this in the middle, plus x. Now we know what number is really in front of that x. We know that's a 1x. All right, so we did that. Put C in the top, bx in the bottom. Make a list of factors using the calculator, so using Desmos. So how are we going to do that? Well, it says we're going to type in C divided by x. So what's our C number? In ours, our C number is negative 30. Okay, I am just going to type in the 30. I'm going to ignore this symbol for now, this sign. We're going to type 30 divided by x into Desmos. And we're going to get a list of numbers. Okay? So 30 divided by x. So here we go to Desmos. So in here, 30 divided by x. Now what I want to look at the table. So I click the wheel, I click the table. Okay. I want to start at the number 1. So 1 should be the first number. So I'm going to change, mine started at negative 2, so I'm going to start at 1. The number was 30. I'm going to write that pair down because those are whole numbers. So 1 and 30, these are the pairs of numbers because we're trying to think of numbers that multiply to 30 and add or subtract to a 1. So to get the list of numbers, this is how we get the list of numbers that multiply to 30. So let's keep going. We start at 1, now we're going to 2. Enter 2. Is it 15? That's a whole number, so I write it down. 2 and 15. 2 and 15. Okay, let's try 3. 3 and 10. They're both whole numbers. I'm going to write them down. 3 and 10. Okay, let's try 4. 4. 7.5. That is a decimal. I am not going to include that in my list. I only want whole numbers. So skip 4. How about 5? 5 and 6. Both whole numbers. Write it down. 5, 6. Okay. Next number would be 6. and I get 5 again. So we see I already have in my list a 5 and a 6. Maybe it's not in this order, but I already have 5, 6. I have that as a pair of numbers. So I am not going to include 6 and 5. Once the numbers start repeating, like I already have this pair, and then when I type in again, I get the same pair again, I am going to stop typing. I have found all of the numbers that multiply and equal 30. Okay? So I'm done making my list. So how do I pick which pair to use? Well, if C is a positive number, then you would add these numbers to get our B number. If C is negative, you're going to subtract. So I said for right now I was ignoring the negative. Well, now I'm going to unignore it. It's a negative 30. So that means I should be subtracting these numbers. And the number I want to get is a 1. So I'm going to subtract these. Subtract these. So 1 minus 30, if you don't know what that is, you would type it in Desmos. It's negative 29. Is that the number I want? No. Okay, we keep going. 2 minus 15, type it in Desmos, is negative 13. Is that the number I want? A 1? No. 3 minus 10, negative 7. Is that a 1? No. 5 minus 6 is negative 1. Is that a 1? We're going to go with yes. I'm going to ignore this sign. 1 and 1, that's my match right there. Okay? So I'm picking that pair. I am writing these numbers in the sides of the X up there. So I'm going to put 5 and 6. Yahoo. Now I have to figure out, because up in my parentheses, I always have like a plus number or a minus number. So I have to figure out, are these supposed to be a positive 5 or negative 5, a positive 6 or negative 6? So how do I pick my sign? Well, I'm looking at this little cheat sheet tells me, depending on what the signs of C and B are, is going to tell me what the signs of 5 and 6 are supposed to be. So my top number is negative. So that means I'm not looking here because that's positive, positive. So it's one of these. The top number is negative. My bottom number is positive. So that tells me that my symbols, one of the numbers are going to be positive and one of them are going to be negative. How do I know which one? Well, it says right here, the bigger number is supposed to be the positive number. So that means my bigger number is 6. So it's a positive 6 and a negative 5. And then I have to put them in parentheses. Like this, with x's. Okay, so I'm going to put them in parentheses. So I have x minus 5 and x plus 6. Okay. Now, since we multiplied at the beginning, we have to do something. We have to divide at the end. We have to undo that step. So what are we going to do? We're going to divide our number parts. That means the negative 5 and the 6. We're going to divide that by A, by what we multiplied by at the beginning. So at the beginning, I multiplied by 3. So at the end, I'm going to divide by 3. Divide by 3. Okay? And we're going to type that in Desmos. So x out of this. 5 divided by 3 is 1.66666. I'm going to turn that into a fraction. I get that fraction. Great. So I'm going to write that x minus this fraction. Great. I still have to divide 6 divided by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So then this is x. And now this has turned into a plus 2. Last step, if we still have a fraction, which we do, we need to move the denominator from the bottom of the fraction to the coefficient of the variable. This is called bottoms up. So we need to move 3. I'm going to slide that into the front of x. So now that's a 3x, and now it's just minus 5. This stays the same. It's just an x plus 2 because that wasn't a fraction, so this does not have to do bottoms up. And this is my final answer, the 3x minus 5 and x plus 2. And I know that seems like a lot of steps, but it's harder to work backwards and like undo what we were doing in the box. We have to kind of work backwards to get this, okay? So I'm only going to do one more example in this video. If you have questions, make sure you're sending a message to Ms. Thompson if you need to see more examples, okay? Okay, so we're going to do this one. So step 1, we were doing equals 0. Great. Step 2, we are multiplying the number in the front times our regular number at the end. Our number in the front this time is a 1 because there's nothing there. So we're going to do times 1. Great. Times 1. 10 times 1, like, is 10. That stayed the same. And now, this is just m. The 1 is not there anymore. Ooh, that was ugly. M squared. Negative 7n does not change. Great. Equals 0. Next step, we're drawing the x. Drawing the x. We're putting our last number in the top plus 10. It is important you put the sign because that tells us should we add or subtract in our list. We're putting negative 7 m in the bottom. Now I'm making my table because I need to know what numbers multiply to 10. So we use the list, okay? And I'm doing 10 divided by x in our Desmos. So here we go. 10 divided by x. I'm looking at the table. Again, we want to start our table at 1. 1 and 10, that's good. I write it down, they're both whole numbers. And then 2. 2. And 5, both whole numbers. I write it down. How about 3? Oh, that's a decimal, I'm not writing that. How about 4? That's a decimal, I'm not writing that. How about 5? 5 and 2, that's a repeat of this pair. 5, 2, 2, 5, that's the same thing. So since my numbers have started repeating, then I am done with my list. This is my whole list this time. So now I need to decide, how do I know which pair to pick? Well, the top was positive, the 10 was positive, so I'm adding my numbers together. And I want them to add up to a 7. 1 plus 10 is 11, not a 7, so I do not pick this pair. 2 plus 5 is 7. I pick this pair. I put the numbers in the sides. So I have a 2 and a 5. Okay. Last step, I gotta pick our 2 and 5, like, is it supposed to be a plus or a negative? My top is positive. My bottom is negative. So I'm gonna look back at the chart. Back at the chart. Top is positive, so it's one of these. Bottom is negative, so it's got to be this one. So that means both of my symbols should be negative. Okay, well that doesn't seem so bad. So it's negative 2. Wow, that was a big line. Negative 2, negative 5. Okay, I'm ready. I'm writing them in parentheses. So m minus 2. And then another parentheses for the other number, m minus 5. Okay? And don't forget, last step, I need to divide by what I multiplied by at the beginning. I did times 1 at the beginning, so I do divided by 1 at the end. 2 divided by 1 is 2. And 5 divided by 1 is 5. So this is my final answer. I don't need to do bottoms up because they're both whole numbers this time. So if you have any questions, make sure you send a message, but you need to try number 1 by yourself right now in the formative.